The air around them is thick with tension, and the low murmur of the crowd grows louder as people eagerly await to see who has made it through the dungeon alive. Among the crowd, Chiffon anxiously watches, his eyes flicking from one figure to another, a sense of worry still gnawing at him. His wristwatch reads 3 in the morning, and he knows that inside the dungeon a whole week has passed. The anticipation is palpable. Chiffon turns to the master, suggesting he take a rest while they wait for the survivors to emerge. However, the master shakes his head, determined. How can he rest knowing his charges are still inside that dangerous place? He's not one to relax until he knows they are all safe. Then all at once the red gate begins to react. The previously still gate hums with energy, and something incredible happens. It starts to open, and a rush of voices and sounds emerge from the other side. Chiffon, unable to contain his excitement, exclaims loudly that the survivors are finally emerging. The master watches closely, his heart pounding in his chest. The dungeon has been cleared and some of the recruits have survived. His thoughts immediately turn to Kim Chul. Did his ward make it out? He begins to search the faces in the crowd, mentally counting and recognizing familiar figures. First, he spots Hunter Park Hee-jin, followed by Hunter Go Myung Hwan and Yoon Kai-jung. They've made it out and they're unharmed. The master feels a sense of relief wash over him. One by one more hunters emerge, each looking battle-worn but alive. And then amidst them he sees Jin-Woo, who stands as the epitome of survival, unwavering and calm. A smile breaks across the master's face and he clenches his fist in triumph. His old acquaintance Jin-Woo has made it through. The dungeon has been conquered and all those who survived stand before him. The gates of the dungeon finally close, sealing off the dangerous world they've escaped from, and the survivors, now a living testament to their strength, and will stand in front of the crowd, their faces a mixture of exhaustion, relief, and hard-earned victory. For a moment the master just watches, his heart swelling with pride and joy. It's over now. The survivors have made it and they will return home. The master's mind races and his once steady breath now quickens with panic. His eyes frantically scan the crowd of survivors, desperately searching for Kim Chul's familiar figure. But to his growing horror, he finds no trace of him among the low-ranked hunters. A gnawing feeling grows in his chest as he realizes that Kim Chul, his trusted ward, is nowhere to be seen. He cannot stop the tremor in his voice as he wonders aloud, did only low-ranked hunters make it out of the dungeon alive? Is that even possible? His disbelief is palpable and his mind refuses to accept the idea. No rank A and only one rank B. How could this happen? What had occurred inside that dungeon to leave such a lopsided outcome? What had gone wrong for Kim Chul to not return? The green-eyed girl, who should have been rejoicing in her survival, is instead standing with her head bowed low, her expression filled with guilt. Her heart is heavy, burdened by the weight of the tragedy that has unfolded. She can't look up, can't meet anyone's eyes, for she feels as if she somehow failed the others, failed to ensure more recruits made it through. The master's thoughts race, but he cannot stop the worry that tightens his chest. His ward, the one he had trusted with his life, is missing. What could have happened inside the dungeon? Was there a fight too great for even Kim Chul to handle? Suddenly the boy, Jin-Woo, turns toward the green-eyed girl, his voice calm and composed as always, though there is a subtle warmth in his words. "I'll take you home," he says, offering a small, reassuring gesture in the midst of the overwhelming emotions swirling around them. The girl, still consumed with guilt, looks up at him, her expression filled with uncertainty. But despite her conflicted feelings, she nods, slightly grateful for his words, even if they do little to soothe her inner turmoil. As Jin-Woo turns to lead her away, the master watches them go, still haunted by the absence of his ward. The questions echo in his mind. What happened to Kim Chul? And what does it mean for all of them now that the dungeon has been cleared, and yet someone so crucial remains unaccounted for? The tension between the two men thickens as the master Baek Yoonho tightens his grip on Jin-Woo's shoulder. His voice is tinged with a mix of frustration and sorrow, though his words are clear and forceful. "We lost 9 people because of this incident," he says, each word weighted with the pain of loss. "Can't you at least answer a few questions?" Jin-Woo's expression remains stoic, unbothered by the master's grip. He does not flinch or show any sign of breaking under the pressure, instead simply looking at the guild master with a detached calmness. His own patience, however, is running thin. With a deep breath, the boy removes the master's hand from his shoulder with an effortless motion, his eyes meeting Baek Yoonho's with an icy calmness. "I'm tired," Jin-Woo says lazily, his voice betraying none of the urgency or emotion the other might have expected. "But if you really want answers, ask your guild members. They were there too." Baek Yoonho freezes for a moment, the words hanging in the air. He is taken aback by the cold indifference in the boy's response. For a fleeting moment, a grim expression takes over his face, a mix of disbelief and frustration. He cannot understand why Jin-Woo is so dismissive, so unwilling to engage after everything that has happened. He stands still, seemingly processing the boy's words, but the pain of losing so many members, especially under such dire circumstances, fuels the emotion brewing in him. His hand clamps down on Jin-Woo's shoulder once more, this time with greater force, a clear sign that he is not willing to let go so easily. His grip, now tense and unyielding, speaks volumes. This is no longer a mere request. It is a demand. Jin-Woo can feel the weight of the guild master's pressure, but he remains unwavering, his body still and unmoved. Baek Yoonho, now fully in control of his emotions, introduces himself as the guild master of the White Tiger, his tone becoming even more insistent. We lost 9 people, he repeats, the raw sorrow and anger evident in his words. What do you think of that? Despite the fiery gaze of the guild master, Jin-Woo stands there calm as ever, his expression unreadable. There is a tension in the air, but Jin-Woo shows no signs of breaking. The weight of Baek Yoonho's grief hangs in the silence, but the boy's indifference only seems to escalate the situation further. The boy, his irritation clearly evident, sharpens his gaze as he locks eyes with the guild master, who seems to be on the verge of losing control. Jin-Woo's voice cuts through the tension, icily stating, "I saved the 3 remaining people. Shouldn't you, the great master, thank me for that?" His words are direct and cutting, aimed to provoke a response. The boy's cold gaze holds firm, unfazed by the rising emotions in the guild master's eyes. For a brief moment, anger and irritation flash in the master's eyes, yet to Jin-Woo's surprise he remains calm. Baek Yoonho, after a long pause, loosens his grip and turns away. His response is simple but heavy with underlying meaning. "You're right, I should apologize." The words come out quietly, the apology more of a reluctant acknowledgement than anything else. It is a rare moment of vulnerability for the usually prideful master. With the matter seemingly settled, the boy moves away, his back turned to the guild master as he heads toward his car. His friend follows suit, climbing into another vehicle to make their way home. The calmness of the situation contrasts sharply with the tension that lingered moments before. Meanwhile, the female hunter, Park Hee-jin, sits quietly cradling a hot drink in her hands. The warmth seeps through the cup, but she cannot escape the chaos of her thoughts. As she sips, she overhears Baek Yoonho's voice calling out to her, asking about Jin-Woo. His inquiry seems to carry more weight than usual as he presses her for an answer. "Who is that boy, and why does he look so annoyed?" His question is genuine, almost puzzled by the boy's unrelenting coldness. Park Hee-jin lowers her gaze, still clutching the drink, as she responds, "I'm not sure." But after defeating the boss, the boy yelled something 3 times while standing over its corpse. Her voice is soft, uncertain, and she is visibly hesitant to delve further into the matter. The scene weighs heavily on her mind, but she cannot explain the boy's demeanor. At this point, Chief Ahn enters the conversation, interrupting the heavy silence. He apologizes and tries to offer some context. "It's probably because the boy is tired," he says, trying to downplay the situation. "After all, he's not a bad person." His words are meant to ease the guild master's frustration, but they don't seem to have the effect he hoped for. Baek Yoonho, still visibly irritated, brushes off the chief's comments. "Don't worry about it," he says dismissively before turning his attention away from him and speaking aloud to himself. "Why haven't you recruited him yet?" The chief hesitates for a moment, his mind processing the question. "Well," he begins cautiously, "since the boy is so cocky, especially when standing in front of you, I imagine he'd be willing to lose an arm just to fight you." There's a slight smile in his tone, though it's tempered by the seriousness of the situation. Baek Yoonho, however, isn't about to let the boy slip through his fingers. His voice becomes firm. "Hurry up and recruit him," he commands, his frustration still evident. "We need him in the White Tiger Guild." Chief Ahn, sensing the weight of the situation, bows respectfully. "I'll do my best to make it happen," he says, though a hint of doubt lingers in his voice, but the guild master is not satisfied with mere promises. He turns to Chief Ahn, a determined glint in his eyes. "It's not enough. I'll make sure the boy joins us no matter the cost." Chief Ahn, taken aback by the intensity of the master's resolve, exhales softly and hides a smile. He understands now the true extent of Baek Yoonho's commitment. "Understood, master." "I'll make it happen," he says, knowing that no matter how challenging the task may be, he has no choice but to comply with the master's wishes. The car swiftly moves down the road, its engine purring, as it overtakes the other vehicles, leaving them behind in a blur. The atmosphere is calm, almost too quiet, as the boy drives alone, his thoughts elsewhere. He rests his head on one hand, still steering, with the other contemplating the events that have unfolded. He recalls the failed attempts to bring the ice elf with him, his frustration growing as he thinks about the 3 times he tried only to fail each time. Was it the difference in strength that caused the setbacks? The boy doesn't dwell on the thought for long, pulling out a trophy from his recent battle, the weapon of the ice elf. It's just a dagger, but it's enough to bring a flicker of satisfaction to Jin-Woo. A small victory in an otherwise chaotic day. After some time, the car finally comes to a stop in front of a house, its lights casting a warm glow into the night. The house is alive with the sounds of people, though it's clear that one person in particular resides there. The boy rests his hands on the steering wheel, his arms folding across it as he leans forward slightly. Looking at the girl, he speaks softly, praising her for her efforts, a rare moment of encouragement from him. She bows, a smile on her face as she thanks him, wishing him a safe journey. The boy, preparing to leave, begins to open the door when a sudden cry of "Oppa" causes him to freeze, his gaze snapping upward in surprise. The girl is standing by the car, her eyes slightly raised as she awkwardly thanks him again. Embarrassment is clear in her demeanor as she mutters about seeing him later. The boy watches her, his expression unreadable, as she hastily retreats back to her house, almost as if she were running from her own emotions. As she disappears inside, the boy reflects on her words. "We'll see each other later," she had said. His eyes shift to the time on the dashboard, noting that it's 3:50 a.m., far later than he had realized. It dawns on him that he's running out of time and his next task awaits. With a soft exhale, Jin-Woo pulls the car out of the parking spot, the engine humming back to life. It's time, he mutters to himself, the urgency returning to his thoughts. He needs to meet up with Jin-Ho and get back to work. There's no time for rest now. The dungeon sweep still looms ahead. The boy gazes at Jin-Ho, clearly tired of the situation unfolding before him. He sighs, asking, "Did you really take the car for this?" His frustration is evident as he watches Jin-Ho dressed in his amusingly mismatched armor. With a grin, Jin-Ho announces that it's time to hit the road, ready to go. However, before they can leave, Jin-Woo interrupts the silence, mentioning they'll need to pick someone up along the way. Jin-Ho, curious, asks who it will be. The boy, already sitting in the backseat, answers, holding his phone. He's on a call with someone named Songye, telling her to get out of the house because they'll be picking her up. Jin-Ho perks up at the mention of her name, and as the boy ends the call, he mutters something under his breath. Jin-Ho can't help but notice the shift in the boy's tone and demeanor, clearly surprised by the familiarity between them. Jin-Ho wonders aloud what kind of relationship they have, considering the boy knows her number and speaks to her with such ease. The silence that follows is heavy with unspoken questions. After a brief moment, Jin-Ho finally breaks it by announcing that they've arrived at their destination. He turns to the boy with a mischievous glint in his eyes and teases, "Maybe it's time to call her your sister-in-law, huh?" Jin-Woo, caught off guard by the sudden comment, responds with a surprised frown. "She's just my sister's friend," he clarifies, his voice tinged with disbelief that such an idea would even come up. The conversation settles into a brief awkward silence, and they prepare to move forward, the journey now taking an unexpected turn with the arrival of Songye. As the morning sun begins to shine, a pretty girl dressed in a green blouse and light jeans steps into view, greeting everyone with a cheerful hello and good morning. She addresses the boy affectionately as Oppa and starts walking toward the car. She greets Jin-Ho, calling him leader, and he happily returns the greeting. Jin-Ho, still a little confused, watches the interaction closely. Meanwhile, the boy, in his usual quiet manner, asks the girl if she slept last night. She answers that she couldn't sleep, and Jin-Woo thoughtfully offers to let her sleep in the car, sensing she's exhausted. Jin-Ho, on the other hand, becomes increasingly uncomfortable as he listens. His face darkens and his mind begins to race. The girl, in an attempt to keep the conversation going, asks Jin-Woo if he himself got any sleep. He replies that he took a quick nap, but it was 4 a.m. when he finally got home. The longer Jin-Ho listens, the more his expression shifts. He recalls the earlier words about how the girl is just Jin-Woo's sister's friend, but now as he watches them interact, doubts begin to plague him. His thoughts grow heavier, and before long he's sweating with discomfort. Finally, he blurts out, "Han Songye is an underage girl." Jin-Woo, ever the enigma, seems completely unfazed and doesn't seem to grasp the deeper implication in Jin-Ho's words. Jin-Ho, growing more frustrated, realizes he might as well be talking to a brick wall as Jin-Woo remains as oblivious as ever. At this point, Jin-Ho's mind continues to spiral. He's thoroughly confused and overwhelmed by the situation, feeling that Jin-Woo's lack of understanding is, well, insane. He even wonders if he's been judging the boy too harshly. Meanwhile, some of their companions start suggesting that it's about time they dealt with the situation properly. Just then the girl exclaims, "Oppa," in a loud and affectionate voice, causing Jin-Ho to freeze in place. His eyes widen with shock, the reality of the situation sinking in as his thoughts race even further. He stares at her, utterly baffled, trying to make sense of what just happened. The revelation leaves Jin-Ho stunned, his mind reeling as the pieces of the puzzle finally begin to click.